What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie298 coming at your live once again to the power of the internet. And feel free to go ahead and get your jokes out in the comment section about my mustache. I accidentally gapped while I was shaving the other day, and this is what I'm left with. So, yes, give me a liter of cola.
A what? A liter of cola?
Liter of cola? Do we make liter of cola?
I like to think that I look like a super trooper, or maybe Gus Johnson just completely let himself go. But today I want to talk to you about a very famous podcast by the name of Frenemies and update you a little bit on all of the drama that's going there. But I have an opinion here that I'm going to try to back up with facts, but I genuinely think Frenemies needs to end. Frenemies was definitely an interesting podcast, and I'm not going to say that it wasn't interesting, but it was born of toxicity, and no matter how many times they went back to that well, it continued to be toxic and ended in a very toxic way. And I really have to think that this could not be good for either Ethan or Trisha's mental health. Even though it's very entertaining, they very much turned out to be lolcows. I don't think they should continue doing that. And consider the source. Consider who's saying that. I am the internet's biggest idiot. I continue to put my own foot in my mouth 20 or 30 times a week, okay? If there was a hot stove in front of me, I would touch it 1,000,000 times just to make sure it was hot. So if I'm saying something is toxic, if I'm saying that you need to stop doing it because it's toxic, wow, that is severely toxic. The entire Frenemies feud came from Trish Paytas spatting with Ethan because Ethan had featured her. If I remember correctly, he originally featured her for catfishing, for looking very different in her Instagram photos and her Twitter photos than she does in real life. He reacted to an image macro of that. She took great offense to that, and then they battled it out online for a little while. But out of all of this drama came something good, and that's the Frenemies podcast. And honestly, this was exceptionally good for Trish Paytas because at the time, she was one of the most hated people on the internet. She, like me, continued to stick her foot in her mouth over and over again, saying and doing some really stupid things, and the internet backlash was huge. I mean, I remember seeing her on TikTok, and every single TikTok had nothing but hate comments. Before I go any further, let me talk about how I feel about Ethan Klein and Trish Paytas. Obviously, Ethan and Hila have been amazing to me. Ethan and Hila put me on their podcast 3 different times. I'm one of very few people to actually go on the podcast 3 times, and where I'm sure I'll never get to go on there again because I'm no longer internet relevant. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. I'm so grateful that Ethan and Hila gave me that opportunity, and I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for Ethan and his style of comedy. And when it comes to Trisha, who I believe her correct pronouns are they and them, I'm going to try to use those, but I'm not a perfect person. I'm an old man. This is difficult for me. But when it comes to Trisha, I don't really have a very big opinion on them. There's somebody I've always related to during the mental health issues, during the crises, during being hated on the internet. Never really consumed a lot of their content. I did enjoy some of their TikToks and was following there for a while. I don't think they like me very much. I don't think Trish is a big fan of me. I think based on comments that they have made in the past, but that doesn't matter. They don't have to like me in order for me to relate to them and enjoy their journey. That said, I really enjoyed their redemption arc as Trish got this opportunity and used it to reinvent themselves. I was so glad to see that happen. And now that they're undoing all of that with the things that have been happening, it's heartbreaking. On the last episode of Frenemies, most likely the very last episode of Frenemies, there was another fight. And it got memed because they were eating pizza, because Ethan was dressed like Uncle Fester. And whenever they fight on the show, one of those two things seems to be true. But that gives you an idea of how common it was for them to fight on this show. And they're so common, there were memes about it. The pizza curse, the Uncle Fester curse. Honestly, I think they're fighting because they're eating the worst possible pizza. We're looking at a couple of millionaires eating $6 pizza. You can afford better pizza. But the point I'm making is if you're fighting on a podcast so frequently that it's memes about it, that's not a good sign. And here's the thing. If this was just drama, if this was just marketing, if this was just BS, that's great. That's fine, okay? That's entertaining. It's entertaining to watch people fight. But when they're fighting for real, it becomes way less entertaining and way less healthy for the people doing the fighting. And if you had any doubts whether or not this was real, some of the accusations that Trish and her sister have made against Ethan here, including sexual harassment, these are not claims you make as a form of entertainment. Arguing over money, something like that, that's something that I think two creators could get together to agree that that's something we're going to pretend to do, but you don't joke about sexual harassment. I mean, if this did turn out to be a joke, it would be over for everybody involved, so that better not be the case. Now here's the tweet that prompted this video. Somebody said, please, please, please go back to Frenemies, and Trish Paytas said, next Tuesday she will. Though Ethan did respond to this by saying, for the record, this is 100% not happening. And with all the accusations and other things that have been going on, I absolutely agree that that should not happen. And you can make all the excuses in the world for Trisha, the same way I make all the excuses in the world for myself. They are mentally ill. They suffer from bipolar disorder. They are dealing with a lot of stuff. And so it makes sense that this behavior pattern is something that's happened here. And yes, 100%. Forgive the behavior, understand the behavior, but it's not an excuse, and it doesn't keep you from having to live through the consequences of that mental illness. Something I learned in therapy that I repeat on this channel all the time. Your mental health may be the reason things happen, but it's never an excuse, and it doesn't mean that you get to live in a world where people immediately forgive you and forget about what your mental illness made you do. You still have to deal with the consequences of your mistakes, whether you did it in a moment of mania, depression, anxiety, doesn't matter. You still have to deal with those consequences. That's the facts. As someone who genuinely cares about Trish and cares about her well-being, I'm willing to say that this was probably a mental health episode that led to all of this. But that doesn't mean Ethan has to work with her or that he even should. Ethan doesn't need the drama. He definitely doesn't need it for his business. When it comes to his business, he's got Teddy Fresh, he's got the H3 podcast, he's got everything else going on. And then when it comes to the drama in his own life, he's got kids on the way. He's got a pending lawsuit he's dealing with. He's got a business to run. Teddy Fresh, which also brings in money, is a good thing. Also certainly takes a lot of time out of their daily schedule. So there's no reason for Ethan to go back to that well. When it comes to Trish, I don't know their situation very well, but they have historically been a very highly viewed person on the internet. Presumably they got some money from Frenemies. They have some money left over from when they were famous on the internet. And still, their videos are doing so much better than 98% of people's on the internet these days. They still get millions of views on some uploads. I don't think they're hurting. They don't need the podcast. They got plenty of other things going on in their own life. And like me, it wouldn't hurt to take a step back to work on your mental and physical health. That's something I feel like I absolutely have been doing and need to continue to do. Couldn't hurt for Trish to do that as well. At the end of the day, Frenemies was an amazing podcast that did something very wonderful in giving Trish Paytas an opportunity to reinvent themselves and continue to be someone that is beloved on the internet, and also thrust their very dramatic mental health issues into the limelight so that people can learn about it, so people can understand it, and yeah, so some people can just be entertained by it. But at the end of the day, even though it was entertaining, even though it was informative, even though it could be educational when it comes to mental health stuff, and it was something good that came out of internet drama and internet spats, not good for the people involved. It's not good for the creators of the podcast. And for that reason alone, I think it's time for it to end. Trish said that they were interested in doing their own podcast production and being part of the team. Hey, maybe they can branch off and do that on their own. Maybe they can have people who hate them on the podcast and do something similar to Frenemies and have drama every week if they want to. And Ethan can continue to run Teddy Fresh and the H3 podcast and the H3 channel and just continue to be one of the most successful YouTubers of all time. But mark my words, this is a podcast that absolutely should not come back, and I really, really hope it doesn't. And that's one man's opinion. I know that I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, you're to let me know in the comments section below. While you're down there, drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I like talking about these things from time to time. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, or me traveling, or me exploring the world, or me talking about video games. I would love to have you join the channel and hit that notification bell so you can be one of the first people to watch a video. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, know you're somebody that helps these videos out quite a bit. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. I love you very much, and may I speak with you again soon.